Chapter 24, '07 in a Single Day 1. Boom. The white bone scimitar, like a black lightning bolt cleaving through the sky, slashed fiercely towards Zhang Yi's head. At that moment, the entire valley trembled, as if the darkness itself was about to collapse. However, clang! The blade's light was once again completely swallowed up. Zhang Yi remained completely still. The myriad phenomena around him merely rippled, utterly neutralizing the earth-shattering attack. How is this possible? Burning Bone's voice was hoarse, and despair finally surfaced in his eyes. His ability index wasn't significantly different from Zhang Yi's, but his attacks were like child's play in the face of Zhang Yi's defense. Is it really? Without even the slightest flaw? Little did he know that Zhang Yi prioritized defensive stat allocation. He has too many opponents he can't beat, but very few opponents can break through his defenses and scratch him. Are you done? Now it's time for my counterattack. Zhang Yi gently raised his right hand. Even in front of the Night Witch, he still had to hold back. If that weren't the case, he would have killed Burning Bone in one move. Even so, his right hand moved slightly. In the void, the space formed by the strings in the area where Burning Bone's body was located collapsed by a line. Puffed. Without any space of any thickness being removed, a huge wound was cut open in the body of Burning Bones, which was born from his abdomen and almost cut him in half. However, because Zhang Yi held back, Fenggu was not killed, but the wound in his abdomen was still shocking. Blood gushed out, and Burning Bone's body began to sway. His pupils contracted sharply, not understanding how this injury had occurred. The wound appeared so strangely that he even thought he had been hit by the other party's causal attack. Blood gushed out, and he endured the pain, clutching his waist with one hand, yet still trying to raise the knife again. Bone burning, that's enough. Just then, a pair of slender hands suddenly grabbed his blood-stained wrists. Shunliuxing, tears streaming down her face, desperately tried to hold him back, preventing him from continuing to sacrifice his life. Her voice trembled, yet it was firm. If you keep going like this, you'll die. You've already given it your all. That's enough. Please stop. Burning Bone was stiff all over, and the white bone scimitar in his hand trembled violently. His gaze was filled with struggle, a mixture of madness and resentment, but it eventually crumbled amidst Shunliuxing's tears. I just wanted to protect you. His voice was hoarse and low, and the scimitar in his hand finally fell and plunged into the ground. The eternal dark moon behind them shattered with a deafening roar, turning into countless black fragments of light that dissipated into the air. Burning Bone swayed, then suddenly knelt on the ground, his breathing disordered, his face covered with traces of blood and tears. The injury was too horrific. He knew he had no chance of defeating Zhang Yi. The valley, bathed in moonlight, fell silent for a moment. The Night Witch watched this scene silently, a complex look flashing in her eyes, but she remained silent. Zhang Yi then withdrew his gaze, put his hands behind his back, and left only a detached whisper. Sometimes it's not a lack of strength, but a wrong direction. His figure appeared particularly cold and aloof in the black mist. But Fenggu was no longer listening. He simply held Shunliuxing tightly, burying his face in her shoulder, like a helpless child. The air in the valley was heavy and oppressive, and the night enveloped the surrounding area, making even breathing difficult. Inside the shadow space, Zhou Kuo and the others watched the scene, seeing the moon people couple embracing each other, and tears welled up in their eyes. It was such a moving scene. If it weren't for saving the fate of all mankind, I really wouldn't want to do something so cruel. Zhou Kuo wiped away the tears from the corners of her eyes and sighed helplessly. In this matter, who is at fault? There was nothing wrong with Meteor Shower and Burning Bones, but there was nothing wrong with Zhang Yi and the Human Alliance who risked their lives to come here. It's just that this world is so cruel. Fatty Su was sobbing uncontrollably. He waved his hand and said, "They're in such a terrible state. I can't bear to watch. Take them away right now." Li Yongyang hugged him and comforted him. "It's okay. You can't see if you close your eyes." Professor Leonardo da Vinci pursed his lips, showing absolutely no interest in this scene of love and romance. Are you done fighting? If you're done, let's head back early. We have things to take care of when we get back. Uncle Yu, clad in heavy armor, looked at Professor da Vinci and asked, Professor, what do you mean? Professor da Vinci's dead fish eyes darted around. Is that even a question? If someone doesn't want us to take the fire back, then there's definitely something even bigger waiting for us. Uncle Yu's face also turned serious. No matter what situation we face, we will not back down. He looked at his mechanical arm and said in a deep voice, I also want to prove my current strength with a major battle. With each upgrade of the demon god armor, Uncle Yu's true combat power has approached that of the White Bishop. However, Zhang Yi's growth rate was too fast, so much so that in small-scale battles, he, Liang Yu, and Hua Hua did not have a chance to make a move. Now, all they can do is prepare for battle and wait for the right opportunity. Fenggu knelt on the ground, his hands covered in blood. Zhang Yi stopped attacking, and he forced his muscles to clench, which temporarily stopped the bleeding. But continuing the fight is absolutely impossible. His fingertips gripped the soil tightly, his eyes flashing with resentment and pain. Shunliuxing gently placed her hand on his shoulder, tender yet firm. Enough, burning bones, she said softly, her voice trembling with tears, yet still gentle. Don't fight so hard anymore, I don't want to see you die. Burning Bones shook his head, his teeth clenching so hard they made a grinding sound. His eyes were fixed on Zhang Yi, as if he were the source of all fate. No, I'm not reconciled. Meteor had just regained her sight. She had just been able to see this world again. Why? Why did she have to die? His voice was hoarse, with the metallic taste of blood, like a roar bursting from the depths of a shattered chest. Upon hearing these words, Shunliuxing finally couldn't hold back her tears, and they streamed down her cheeks. She slowly turned around and looked at Zhang Yi. Friends of Earth. This was the first time she had called him by that name, her voice filled with pleading and determination. I know you're going to take me away. I know fate has paved the way. But could you give me just one day? Zhang Yi's eyebrows twitched slightly, his eyes deep as he gazed at her silently. Times of day? Shunliuxing nodded, tears welling in her eyes, her slightly trembling lips parting gently. Yes, just one day. I want to see this world for myself. I want to see the mountains, the stars, the flowers, and the rivers. Even if it's just for one day, I want to use my own eyes to remember the beauty of this world. Chapter 24:08 In a Single Day, 2. The voice of the meteor shower grew softer and softer, yet it struck people's hearts like a heavy hammer. Please, please promise me? I promise that after seeing what the world is really like for a day, I will obediently go back with you. The valley fell into a brief silence. Fenggu raised his head, a final glimmer of hope burning in his eyes. His tears of blood dripped down his chin, but he couldn't utter a single word. Even if fate cannot be changed, he must at least buy a moment of time for the meteor. The meteor shower, her name itself foreshadowed her destiny. Flowers bloom in splendor, but their beauty is fleeting, like a shooting star streaking across the sky. Zhang Yi stood there quietly, as if deep in thought. After a long while, he slowly nodded. Okay, I promise you. With things having come to this point, the night which no longer protects burning bones and meteor shower, and everything is now over. As long as they are on this moon, they have nowhere to escape. It sounds pretty tragic, but there's nothing Zhang Yi can do. He feels a little sorry for them, but he won't change his mind. Consider it a good deed. Shunliuxing froze, tears welling up, and a long-lost smile appeared on her face. Zhang Yi's gaze was calm, his voice low but firm. But we will be with you. The world you want to see, we will go with you to see it. Shunliuxing's tears finally welled up, and she hugged Fenggu tightly, her body trembling from the emotional breakdown. Burning Bones slowly raised his hands and carefully embraced her, as if afraid of losing everything before him. The night witch watched silently, an indescribable expression on her face. Her eyes held both pity and sorrow. Zhang Yi suddenly turned his head, staring at the Night Witch, and slowly said, "You were once the first Black Moon Priestess. Can you tell me why you gave up your identity and came here alone?" The Night Witch's eyes flickered slightly, and after a long while, she whispered, "Because I saw the future." Her voice carried a low sigh, as if even the air itself had become heavy. "I see an unstoppable destiny. Samuel will one day break free from his seal. Both the Radiant Moon Empire and the Dark Moon Empire will be reduced to ruins at that moment. All sacrifices, all efforts, all bloodshed will only become nothingness." She raised her head, her gaze fixed on the distance, as if she had pierced through time and space to see the impending disaster. "I once thought that by abandoning my priesthood and hiding deep within this dark sun forest, I could forget those omens. But now it seems I can't escape them after all. The wheel of fate rolls on, crushing everything in its path." Her voice gradually choked up, but she remained calm. Zhang Yi's expression shifted slightly, a hint of coldness flashing in his eyes, but he did not press the matter further. He knew that some things didn't need to be said outright at that moment. They sealed Mammon away. However, according to the dragons, it only delays Mammon's breaking of the seal by 1 or 200 years. It was inevitable that the 7 demon gods would break free from their seal. Even the Ihan clan could not completely destroy them. Therefore, the Night Witch realized that even their billions of years of protection could not completely seal Samuel away. The Drucker Titans were capable of devouring everything in the material world. The power of the seal was like adding fuel to the fire, constantly strengthening, and then being continuously consumed by the Drucker Titans. Therefore, each time the Druck people break free from their seal, they become even stronger. This is a world that will eventually be destroyed. The Witch of the Night witnessed a hopeless final chapter, and thus collapsed. However, Zhang Yi would not have such a pointless thought. 200 years, 300 years? Will his life be able to continue until then? There shouldn't be any problem because as Zhou Kor's abilities grow stronger, Zhang Yi and the others' biological structures are also being gradually optimized. Telomere elongation, enhanced cell activity, and perhaps one day they may even achieve immortality like the ephemeral race. Even just surviving is still living. So, why be so pessimistic? This world has never truly ended. People from every era have survived. At worst, if the world is destroyed, Zhang Yi will take the people around him and escape to a secluded paradise to continue living. Zhang Yi looked at the young couple embracing in front of him, but did not interrupt their tender moment. Lancelot frowned and said in a low voice, "How long are they going to keep hugging?" King Arthur gave him a look. "It won't make a difference if we wait a little longer. Let them enjoy this rare moment of freedom." Just as night fell, footsteps echoed from the mouth of the valley. A familiar figure led the two of them in. King Arthur and Saladin turned around and looked at each other with surprise. Did anyone actually survive? When they saw who it was, their eyes widened in surprise. The people who arrived were Gao Chongkong, Gu Man, and Batu. King Arthur did not have a deep impression of Gao Chongkong. In the entire Bharata, only Indra was worth remembering. As for Gao Chongkong, he vaguely knew that he was a second-rate person with decent abilities. But now, Indra is not here, so what is the deal with this Gao Chongkong? Neither King Arthur nor Saladin paid much attention to Gao Chongkong's affairs. People of this caliber are not worth their time and effort. However, when Zhang Yi and Yang Xinxin saw Gao Chongkong, their eyes revealed a meaningful look. They knew better than anyone else what level Gao Chongkong's strength had reached. Having endured for many years, he now possesses the strength to overthrow Indra and ascend to the position of Bharata. I thought you had died out there, or that your minds had been corrupted and you had become dark apostles. Zhang Yi said with a smile and a calm tone. The gaze from above swept across the valley, and when it landed on Zhang Yi, the expression softened slightly. He chuckled lightly. How could I die so easily? Have you forgotten that I can see the future? Zhang Yi turned around, his gaze steady, and nodded slightly. That's true. You are indeed very capable. It is also thanks to your help that we have been able to get to where we are today. Before setting off, Zhang Yi had Yang Xinxin shoot an arrow at Gao Changkong, controlling him to activate the reincarnation deduction ability. Based on this, we can deduce the most likely future development trend. This ability is extremely precise. Unless it encounters a more powerful time manipulation ability user, it will generally not deviate from reality. Although unlike Indra, who has such accurate predictions about the distant future, he is here to help Zhang Yi see many things clearly. It was Gao Changkong's ability that allowed Zhang Yi to see the truth behind Shi Yan's death and their being sent into the Dark Sun Forest. Otherwise, how could he have entered the Dark Sun Forest so calmly? A smile appeared on Gao Changkong's lips, a smile that remained resilient even after experiencing war and slaughter. We share the same goal, so there's no need to be so polite. After all, I also need your help. Chapter 24:09 In a Single Day 3. The atmosphere in the valley gradually calmed down. The night breeze swept away the stench of blood and the oppressive atmosphere, leaving behind only an indescribable sense of unease and hope. Fortunately, the repression was excruciating. As for Zhang Yi and his group, they felt hope and relief. They had completed their mission, and Zhang Yi had gained a great deal after arriving in the Dark Sun Forest. With so many powerful sources, he made a fortune, and he was happy to do a favor and let Shen Liuxing enjoy life a little longer. After explaining the current situation to Jian Dan and Gao Changkong, Gu Man's eyes showed a hint of sympathy, but she quickly suppressed it. Having survived 5 years of the apocalypse and overcome countless hardships alongside Gao Changkong, her will has become as firm as iron. She is no delicate queen. The conversation ended, and Zhang Yi began the countdown to the end of the day. He used a smart device to project a 24-hour countdown clock, which was displayed above everyone. Let's go. For the rest of the time, we will make sure you are not disturbed by anyone and can quietly enjoy your private time together. Zhang Yi said calmly. Fungu clenched his fists, his eyes flashing with resentment, but Shen Liuxing wiped away his tears and shook his head at him. Accept her fate. She only wanted to enjoy the last days of her life. If Burning Bones continued to resist, they wouldn't even have their last day. Fungu gritted his teeth and nodded helplessly in agreement. On the way out of the Dark Sun Forest, the moonlight was cold and clear. The night seemed to have lost the aura of blood and war, but it was still shrouded in a strong sense of oppression. Meteor and Bones walked side by side. The girls' eyes regained their sight under the spell of the Night Witch, and now they were wide open, filled with wonder and longing. Burning Bones kept his head down, his body shrouded in a black cloak, and he had never completely let go of the inferiority complex in his heart. Zhang Yi and his group followed them from a distance. He chatted with Gao Changkong and others. Is Indra dead? Zhang Yi got straight to the point as soon as he opened his mouth. Gao Changkong raised an eyebrow, then sighed with some regret. It was so close. I had everything planned out, but that guy's abilities were just too difficult to kill. Indra's supernatural ability index is not very high. If he were to leave the kingdom of Bharata and lack the support of faith, his fighting prowess would only be considered second-rate in the human world. However, he was remarkably resilient. As a natural prophet, his ability allows him to see the path ahead, so he can always choose the safer one. He is also one of the few opponents who survived a head-on confrontation with Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi knew very well that Gao Changkong would rebel sooner or later. He was just using Bharata as a stepping stone. And one day, when he is powerful enough, he will surely go back to seek revenge on Zhu Zheng and the others. That had become an obsession for him to live. Since Indra is not dead, you won't be able to stay in Bharata anymore. What are your plans? Gao Changkong stared at Zhang Yi and asked jokingly, How about I go back to Huashu Kingdom? What do you think? As soon as he finished speaking, he felt Zhang Yi's sharp gaze shooting over him. Return to Huashu Kingdom? Are you serious? Go back and kill Zhu Zheng? Gao Changkong lowered his eyelids, and his voice became somewhat cold. Is he important to you? Of course, it's not important. Zhang Yi replied without hesitation. But why should I believe you? You're too slick and slippery. You'll stop at nothing to achieve your goals. If you return to Huashu Kingdom, to the Jiangnan region, I won't feel at ease having such a scheming person by my side." Gao Changkong remained silent. He walked silently side by side with Zhang Yi, his head down, seemingly lost in thought. Zhang Yi didn't know which chord her words had touched, but she was too lazy to ask. After a long while, Gao Changkong suddenly said to him, "Do you think I wanted to?" His voice was filled with dissatisfaction and resistance. Zhang Yi saw the intense, resentful look burning in his eyes. "I was once a famous basketball star. I had millions of admirers, and I had a wonderful family. But what if one day, like me, you witness your loved ones or friends being murdered right before your eyes, and you are powerless to do anything about it?" "Zhang Yi, answer me. Can you still forgive those who hurt you and your family and friends?"
Can you?
Gao Changkong's voice grew increasingly agitated, as if he were questioning someone, or perhaps venting his frustration. 5 years have passed since the apocalypse. He always appeared to be a cunning and ruthless tyrant, whether in the Jiangnan region or later when he fled to Barada. He was always pretending. In order not to reveal any flaws or show any vulnerability, he hid all his inner fragility. Only when facing Zhang Yi, someone who knows him well and is stronger than him, can Gao Changkong reveal his true feelings. Or perhaps he knew that Zhang Yi was the same kind of person as him. Zhang Yi said calmly, "Of course not. I'll be even more ruthless than you." But Zhang Yi shrugged. "On the other hand, I have no interest in empathizing with anyone. I won't change my stance because I pity anyone, because I only care about myself and the people around me." People's perspectives are always determined by their own circumstances, aren't they? Gao Changkong gradually regained his composure. He looked up at the sky and said, "That's right. People only need to think about themselves. Who cares about others? So, I will continue to do things my own way." Gao Changkong smiled and looked at Zhang Yi. "Those old bastards in the Jiangnan region, everyone involved in the death of my parents, I will kill them all one day." "Do as you please. What does it have to do with me?" Zhang Yi said dismissively, "But without my approval, would you dare to trespass on my territory?" His gaze suddenly turned sharp. "You'll then know just how strong the territorial instincts of the King of Beasts are." Gao Changkong took a deep breath. He certainly didn't have the resources to challenge Zhang Yi right now. "All right, let's wait and see. But Zhang Yi, I never want to be your enemy. We'll see when the time comes." Zhang Yi laughed dismissively. As they reached the edge of the dark sun forest, the shadows in the forest gradually thinned. Zhang Yi suddenly stopped, his brow furrowing. A strange aura emanated from the air, a fluctuation caused by the extreme spread of mental pollution. Following the scent, they found a dying figure on the shore of a dried-up lake. "That's General Guqing," Morgan exclaimed. "Dear viewers, thanks for staying with me. We'll try to get you more updates. Please like and subscribe and share the video with your friends. Love you.